All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, and also welcome back to Bill Leverty of Firehouse. It's been about 4 years since he's been on this show. When this show started, it was a matter of calling my friends or whoever would be nice enough to come on. That was 30,000 subscribers and 5 million views again. Ago. So now I'm happy that Bill is back because I did something last night that I did not expect to do in 2025. I purchased new Firehouse music. The single Mighty Fine Lady is available now. We're going to talk about that and more with Bill Everty right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. No way I'm gonna waste time without you. All right, here he is, Bill Everty. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you. And I thank you for coming on 4 years ago when there was a few people watching.
Well, you're a good dude, man. I'm glad to be here, and I know your audience. If they're anything like you, they're good people as well.
Well, let's hope. But
Yeah.
I've said before what a Firehouse fan I was growing up, still am to this day. I was fortunate to see you guys twice on the '80s cruise and see what would be the new lineup, and it's exciting about the future of Firehouse. And before we talk about new things, we need to talk a little bit about CJ Snare, your late lead singer. And I want to let people know, though, who are watching, if you're looking for the history of Firehouse, the history of Bill, that's in our first interview that's linked below. Today, I really want to concentrate on Firehouse moving forward. So, did you first find out CJ was sick in 2020?
Um, well, it was about 4 years ago. So probably was 21. But he had been telling us that he had some stomach pain, and then we're playing a gig in Milwaukee, and he was like right in the middle of. I mean, I'm playing an intro or something in a song, and he's like, "I've never felt this bad before ever at a gig," and I said, "Well, do you want to stop?" He said, "No, let's go," and we kept playing through, and after we were done, I was like, "Man, gotta go get that checked out." I thought, maybe it's, you know, it wasn't something that Tums was going to help, and so he went in probably a couple of weeks later. He was a tough guy, and he was like, I think it'll probably just go away. But he waited a couple of weeks because it got to be unbearable, and he went into an emergency room, and they said you have intestinal blockage. So he had to have a surgery on that. And he was back to he didn't miss a show then. He didn't want to miss a show. Never wanted to cancel a show in his whole career. We worked together for 37 years or so. I never wanted to cancel a show, and he was back 2 weeks later after that surgery. After he got some bad news with that, I mean, some terrible news, and so
Yeah,
that's when it started.
he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And he always was optimistic. From what everyone has told me, he always believed he would get back on that stage.
And he did. I mean, he had that surgery. He was back in 2 weeks, and he had some bad news. Um, as I said, terrible news. The doctor that he had uh, didn't give him much hope, and he found a doctor um, at the Moffitt Cancer Institute who said, "I can give you some more time, and it's a major operation. It was a 12-hour surgery that he went under, um, and he was like, look, guys, we got some shows on the books. Let's get a substitute singer. I'll be back as soon as I can." And he came back, and he was kicking ass, for 2.5 years, and you'd never know that he had this huge scar on his abdomen and that he was dealing with that. But he was just an amazing human.
And he was involved in who his substitute would be. It wasn't like you guys just said this is who it is. He had say in it, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And he had to have a third surgery, which was another major surgery. This one's probably 8 or 9 hour surgery, and that's about the time where Robbie Lochner had told me that he knew a guy who was really, really good, and his name is Nate Peck, and he said you should check this guy out. He's an amazing singer, and he's got the tone kind of like that would fit your music. And so I called Nate, and well, I checked him out first, and I was blown away by his Instagram reels and stuff. And I said, "Would you be interested in filling in for CJ? CJ's out recovering from a surgery. He should be back in around July." And Nate said, "Absolutely, I'd love to." So I sent him the songs and our set list for a headlining show we were doing at New England Rock Fest. And Nate came out. We didn't have any rehearsals. We had an extended sound check that we did, and he was just awesome. And we looked at it. The other guys were looking at each other like, "Oh my gosh, this guy sounds so good." And sent the videotape of that show that night to CJ, and CJ said, "Wow, that's your guy." So.
Yeah, it's incredible, and we'll talk more about Nate. But it's also a bit eerie when you hear how well he does this. Probably especially for you guys who spent most of your lives performing with CJ. But CJ, there was people he liked, there was people he didn't like, as far as filling his shoes, and it's great that he sort of approved of Nate doing it. Of course, he never thought that Nate was going to become the singer. Was there a time when you thought, maybe I need to put this on hold, or do you think we'll just keep it going for CJ, keep it going for the fans?
CJ wanted us to go on. We wanted to go on. We didn't want to cancel any shows. We want to keep the music going. That's what we all want. And that's what he wanted. He didn't know that this was going to happen. It was when he passed, it was a sudden cardiac arrest that got him. He had lost a lot of weight, but the day before I was texting him, and he said, "I've gained some weight. Things are looking great." I said, "Well, we're ready for you when you are." So there was really no plan for us to just hang it up. This is kind of what we do. So
yeah, the wheels were still in motion, and so almost exactly a year ago, CJ passes away, 2024, as you said. Cardiac arrest. He leaves behind 3 children. He had a girlfriend at the time. He has family. And when people pass, you often have nice wishes. But boy, I don't think you could find somebody who had a bad word to say about CJ. So many people touched by his music, touched by him as a person. I was fortunate, to have dinner with him several times and also have that experience. How do you get the news that CJ had passed?
from his girlfriend, she texted. I landed, turned my phone out of airplane mode, and she said, "Call me." And I called her, and she told me. And so then I got, we were connecting in an airport, and the other guys got off the plane. I said, "Come over here, we got to talk." And I told everybody, and we just sat there, and it was a rough time. And yeah, I mean, that's how I found out. And it was
And then had to break it to your band, who also obviously knew and loved CJ. Michael Foster has been your partner now, going on over 40 years playing music together.
yeah.
So what happens? Do you and Michael say, should we continue? What is the thought process? Because you're trying to deal with a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know, it was so difficult, but we were out on the road when it happened. We were in Texas, and we still had a show to do that night, and then we had other shows that we had commitments to, and so we were like I said, CJ wanted us to go on, and we wanted to keep playing. And, we wanted to just do it in a way that would respect him and
Hmm.
his family and the music. And with his blessing, and it's a tough word, but he gave his blessing to Nate because he really liked the way Nate sounds and the way that Nate performs and Nate sings. And they became good friends over the months that that Nate was filling in. So I think a bit of CJ rubbed off on Nate in a great way. So everything about CJ was always really positive. He always sang with a smile on his face, and he always, had a positive look on everything. And so he was just a remarkable guy.
Well, and you talk about continuing with respect. And like I said, I was fortunate to see the shows, and that is what you do. It's horrible, as we all get older, people pass. At the end of the day, CJ was probably too young. He was 64 years old, but um, we don't have a choice in these things sometimes. But some people decide we're going to honor our singer. There's other bands that this has happened to, and some people say we're just going to truck on through. When I saw your show, I was interested to see how you would deal with it, and the amount of respect that Nate plays and that the band pays and the band pays to CJ's legacy is incredible. And you get it right out of the way. Nate dedicates the performance to CJ, so people in the audience know. Look, he's a young man. I don't think anyone's watching going, "Wait a second, he looks different," But he points it out, and you have CJ up on the screens from some of the live Japanese footage, and it's touching, but it's also not done so somber where you go, "Oh man," you want to honor CJ and you want to hear your music. Firehouse was fun music, um, which brings me to the new single, because I said, okay, let's see what Firehouse sounds like in 2025, and there's no I'm so happy that you guys aren't attempting to make the new modern song, the new modern sound. You gave people a Firehouse song, and you gave people a song that if they like those albums, this is the next one. It feels like it's the next logical step. I at first I go, is this a little dated? And then I go, no, it's exactly what you want. And by the first chorus, you're already singing along. The song is called Mighty Fine Lady. It's available at firehousemusic.com. And I like all of your choices, including two guitar solos. I don't think we needed one, we needed two. And right after it's just a little bit different. And so tell me a little bit about how this song comes about.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, we'd wanted to put out some new music for a long time. Um, CJ, Michael, Alan, and I had all been talking about wanting to do it. We just never got it done. Life got in the way, and things slowed us down from that. We were touring a lot, so we took our focus off of the recording and writing kind of ball, and we were focusing on other stuff in our lives. And then along comes Nate, and after CJ passed, we're still doing shows and everything. And then Nate said to me, "Hey, why don't you just send me a riff?" And I said, "Okay, I'll send you a riff." So I sent him the riff, which is the intro to that song, and he sang something over it that was basically turned out to be the first verse, and I liked it so much. Excuse me, and I thought it was so good. It motivated me to send him something else. And I sent him some chorus music and a little bit of verse music that would be more appropriate for him to sing over. So that intro riff just kind of became the intro riff. It's not played anymore in the rest of the song. Mm-hmm. But he sang over this new verse music, which it was the same melody and the same lyrics and everything. It just kind of more dynamic for him for verse music, and then the chorus music, and then we just kind of basically wrote it over the phone, a few phone calls and email, and he'd sing it into his phone and send it over to me. He had this rig where he he could do that and send me a voice memo of what he had done. And so we were working that way. And then I had Michael, who lives about an hour from here. He came over and recorded his drums on it. And then Alan was, we were doing some gigs here near where I live in Virginia. And Alan came over a day before, and we went to dinner, and then he came in and he laid down his bass tracks and sang some harmonies and stuff. And then we had Nate come in. I figured, wow, we'll have Nate for a whole day to sing his part, because it's a tough vocal performance that he does on that song. And he came in that night. We went to dinner, and then I was like, all right, well, it's kind of late. You've been up, you've been flying all day. You want to just sing something and lay down like kind of a scratch track? And he said, yeah. And so he came in here, and first take, he just blew me away. It was all like so good. And so we woke up the next day, and we were like, oh, there really isn't that much to fix. So we, of course, poked around with the song a little bit and tried different options and everything on stuff, but it was pretty much done that night. So, so we hung out the next day, and then he flew back and the following day, and then I spent probably, I don't know, 3 weeks mixing it, because I'm no full-time mix engineer. I love mixing, but I really wanted it to be something that sounded, a little bit like our first album, which was done by some amazing producers, engineers, a little bit like our third album, which was done by an amazing producer and mix engineer, and a little bit like what you hear today. So I wanted to have all those elements, and Michael helped me a whole lot with getting the drums to sound up to snuff. And then when we were done, we're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? We're going to put it out as a single, or are we going to wait until we got 10 of these and then put them out as an album? We were like, let's put it out now. So that's kind of the story.
I think that's the move in this day and age. I got to ask you, based on what you just said, was there something about the second record that you didn't like?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to skip that one, but it was the same producer and engineer that recorded our first and second record. They sound exceptionally good to me. I think they did a great job of mixing it and producing it. So yeah, we had to compete with ourselves, and we weren't just competing with ourselves. We were competing with these amazing producers and engineers that we worked with in the past. And we weren't even there for the mixing of those records. We went right out on the road. So I didn't get to learn from those guys. I learned a little bit from Chris Lord-Alge, who mixed our third record. And I've learned a little bit from other people who are really qualified engineers. A guy named Mark Severns, who mixed our, he's mixed a bunch of our stuff and helped to engineer it. So I learned a lot from him as well.
Yeah. Now you make the decision to put the song out as a single, and you make what may be considered a brave decision in this day and age. You didn't decide to put it on Spotify or YouTube, or you decided we're going to put it on our website, and people are going to pay for this song. They're going to download it. They can pay what they want. It starts at $1, which is what a song had cost prior, iTunes and things like that. What goes into that decision?
Well, we had some costs that we wanted to recoup, and we figure if we put it on Spotify, it'll be 5 years, but who knows, before we recoup, the flight costs and other costs. So we were like, if we've got fans that are so awesome and so generous and cool, and they're so supportive, that if we say, hey, it's available on our website for now exclusively, then please come get it for $1. And then we're not going to put it on Spotify for a while. I mean, eventually we're going to put it up there, but it got a great response and great reviews and everything. So I think it was the right move for us. I really do. And we're real happy with the way that people have responded to it.
There's something sort of exciting about buying a song that you can't find anywhere else. There's something kind of listen, we all grew up doing that, but now it's something about I'm going to hear this Firehouse song that I can't just Google and find it anywhere. And then, as I said, you delivered. We'll let other people decide. They can buy it. The link is in the description. Is there a plan for more?
Well, we definitely want to do more. We don't have anything started yet, but it could take a lyric or a vocal melody or a riff or something to spark that next song. So, and we all want to do it. We all had a great time making this one. So I think their plans are in the works.
Listen, it's word of mouth now. We're talking about it, and then someone else will talk about it, and people will try it, and people have to understand that the Firehouse band and brand continues. It is the sound. Nate's voice, as I said earlier, is eerily like CJ. He can do his own thing as well. But if you're a Firehouse fan, this is the person that you would want to continue it. What about touring? Now, Firehouse is one of these bands that may have been bigger overseas than in the States. Certainly later in the career when grunge came out, Firehouse just went overseas and kept working and was a huge act. Has Nate been out of the country with you yet? And what's the plans for this year?
Yeah, Nate's going out of the country with us. We went to Canada first and had a great gig right outside of Toronto, and it was wonderful. And then we traveled a long trip to Indonesia and played 3 shows there in 3 different cities. And so right now our summer's pretty full. I think this year we'll probably do about 50 shows when it's all said and done. That's about
a great year.
Yeah, and it's a good year for us. And they're mostly fly dates, so we wake up really early and go down to the airport, check our luggage, and then go through security and do that whole rigmarole. And then, we get where we got to go, and we set up and go get dinner and a shower if we're lucky, and then we go out and play. And so it's usually on a Friday or Saturday night are the nights where people that are our audience's age will go out to a show. It's kind of hard for them to get a babysitter and on a Wednesday night and then have to, get up and go to work the next morning. So we're doing more Fridays and Saturday nights, and it seems to be keeping us busy.
Well, that is the modern life for bands of this era, of your era. That's the thing. You do the fly dates, and 50 is a great year. What people don't understand is that to do those 50 shows really means 150 days of traveling. You got to get there, you got to play, you got to go home, rinse and repeat. It's a grueling schedule, but you got to get Nate out there. You got to get Firehouse out there and let people know that it's not over and that we embrace CJ Snare and his memory and his music, but that this continues. And I think after what I saw on the 80s cruise, I said, I think that this can be strong. I spoke to your agent as well and said, listen, I think Firehouse, you've got the songs, and there's no more. Someone said Firehouse is the wedding band. I think you were one of the top wedding bands of all time. I've been number one with some of these songs. You have the songs, you have the heavy songs, and your set list plays a little bit of everything. And so I think it's exciting that people get to see you this year and get to see Nate. I think that's the whole key. I would think you do too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And the fans especially have been so welcoming to Nate. And Nate's, he's got a tough job. I mean, not only just singing these songs, because they're very hard songs to sing, but he's got to get out there and he does it in such a classy, respectful way. And I'm just so thankful that we got introduced to Nate by Robbie Lochner, and that Nate is the guy that he is. He's just so creative and so talented and so kind and cool. He's just got it all. He's wonderful guys. I can't say enough about him. and the fans love him, and they can see what a great guy he is. Just so if you come out to a show, I think you'll see it.
Do you feel like he's a bit of a boost of an energy for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. You know, he's 24. You know, now that I'm over 49, yeah.
Just over 49. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I turned 40 just recently. It was just I don't know, 2002. Is that right? So, yeah, but he's really got a lot of energy and a lot of, yeah. But he fits right in with us. I mean, we're not sitting in the dressing room cracking jokes, thinking, oh, you know, this guy's 24, and he's not thinking, oh, these guys are older. It's just like we're all brothers. You know, he's a really he's an old soul, and you know, really good dude.
Yeah, you were fortunate out of such a bad situation to have such a good situation, and have the Firehouse music and legacy continue. And also your own music. I want to make sure we put a link to that as well, because you haven't exactly been sitting around. How many Bill Leverty solo albums are there?
5, and then I've released a couple of songs since the 5th one, and you know, I just keep cranking them out when I feel like there's something that's worth pursuing. I'll work on it. So 5 albums and maybe 3 or 4 singles after that. My last album was called Divided We Fall, and my last single was called Hey Mama, and I'm going to get that one up on Spotify one day soon. But right now it's on my website. So
yeah, you're a one-stop shop. I've had people tell me, boy, I ordered from Bill Leverty and he sent it to me. You know, he signed my CD, and which is great that there's a personal interaction that people get from music, and then from you actually delivering the music. And I like that you're in control of what you do.
Well, thanks. I mean, I'm busy on the weekends out of town, and then during the week I'm looking for something to do. So I love signing a CD that somebody put down their hard-earned money for, and I love going to the post office and sending it out. So it's just kind of the routine over here.
Yeah, I'm going to link your website as well, so people can get it. And as you said, that this new single is a way to support the band, support the music. Eventually, it'll be in wide consumption, but for now, this is a way to get music and hear something and be part of like an exclusive club. You get to hear something that isn't released to everyone yet. I'm looking forward to more, I think, as time comes on, and this reaction, because we'll see. People in the comments will let us know what they think. Has the song been added to your set list yet?
We haven't had a show since the song came out. The song came out a week ago. The next show we're doing is in Pennsylvania, and I don't know how long our set list is. If it's a really short set list, we might not be able to do it because we've got songs that people might be disappointed if we don't play them. So at the next show where we've got a full set list, or even a medium size set list that we're allowed to do, then we're going to squeeze it in there. And we're all excited to do it. Yeah.
You talked about the pressure on Nate, and he handles it very like it's nothing, but everyone's got their phone and everyone's waiting to compare him. And this is a whole new problem that no one else, when you change singers in the 90s or in the 80s, you didn't think about that. Now everyone is ready. And some of these songs have these trademark CJ Snare screams, and everyone is waiting to see, is he going to hit that scream? I mean, I was looking around, people around me were all waiting, and he definitely delivered. As you guys,
yeah, it's a different game out there today, live with the phone, everybody recording the show. And then it's also a different game out there when you release new music. It used to be when we were kids, we'd go to the record store and get the record, and then you had that record. Now our record store is at our website for a while, and you can have that MP3. Eventually it'll be up on those other things, but you had the live show with people, putting their phone up there and then uploading it to YouTube. it's kind of it's double-edged sword, I guess, but it happens. So Nate's handling it real well, and he's doing the songs so well, and so we can't wait to do this new one so we can show some people Nate's what Nate wrote on the song and how he performs in his own way. And I think he's got his own voice. He doesn't try to sound like CJ. I think that it's just his vocal tone has that natural sound of that bright tone that Robbie Lochner told me about. And so it's just
He was on American Idol, wasn't he?
he was, and he auditioned with a Dawkins song called "Lightning Strikes Again."
Yeah, how great.
And Luke Bryan and Katy Perry and Lionel Richie were the three judges, and they all said, "Oh yeah, you're going to Hollywood." So he got the golden ticket from that. So I missed that audition. I've since gone back and seen it on YouTube, and he nailed it. And
Yeah.
it's no wonder that Katy Perry was going crazy for him. And then Luke Bryan wanted to get up and sing some Whitesnake with him, and they did that. So I mean, that's just the kind of voice that Nate has, and then the personality too. He's just so humble and such a great guy.
Yeah, well, and I feel like Firehouse, your band, has always been that way. You've always been fan friendly and just good guys. And I saw him on the boat and got to meet Nate, and just such a nice guy. Maybe sometime we'll have him on the show to talk about his take on this whole world that he's sort of been thrown into, and thankfully working out or being received well.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to. He'd be a great interview.
Yeah. Bill, I thank you so much. I've said it before. I grew up in New York City. I got to see Firehouse so many times, the Limelight, all kinds of cool places, and always a fan of your guitar playing. I say this whenever I get the chance.
Thank you.
If there's an underrated player from that scene, I always say it's you. When I look at some of these tours and some of your peers, I go, I'm not sure why Bill Leverty did not get the attention that some of these other guys got. That's not to diminish other players, but boy, there's something about your playing, Bill, that I think, and you're very humble about it, but I think if people want some real good guitar rock, and the new single has it, you want a little shredding, I think you delivered. So I'm so glad that you came and spent a little time with me this morning.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate your audience listening.
Thank you again. Mighty Fine Lady, Firehouse Music. Link is in the comments. Get the song. These bands travel awfully far to see you, much further than you went to see them. It's time to support music a little bit, and then let us know in the comments what you think of the song. I'd like to hear other people's opinions. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all again.